The purpose of this recording is to assess whether your GST accounts balance with your business activity statements. Before you perform this task, you should have a copy of your business activity statement that you submitted during the year. Or better still, use this facility at the time of doing your business activity statement. Once you have your business activity statement in front of you, you need to ensure that you are preparing your report on the correct basis. On your business activity statement, it will state whether you are on a cash basis or an accruals basis. We will assume in this case that you are on a cash basis. To cross-reference your business activity statement to your reporting software, select Reports, select the GST tab, select GST Summary Cash if you are on a cash basis, and Summary Accrual if you are on an accruals basis. So in this case we are assuming that we're on a cash basis. Theoretically, this is the report that you use to prepare your business activity statement, so you should be familiar with this. If we select Customize, we now select the period that we wish to report on. So I'm selecting here 1st of the 7th 09 through to the 30th of the 9th 09, being the first quarter. As you can see, I've clicked on these other fields to show you the other variables. When you prepared your business activity statement, you would have included your figures either as tax inclusive or tax exclusive. Tax inclusive means that you are reporting the figure with the GST in it. Tax exclusive means that you are reporting the figures without the GST in them at G1, G11 and G10 and possibly even G3. If you have ticked the box that says that the figures are GST inclusive, then prepare your report on an inclusive basis. Once you have done this, bring the report to the screen. Now, in this particular case, this report shows us that we have reported for the September quarter a total amount of sales of 12,540,000 inclusive of GST. This is the figure that should be reported in your business activity statement at G1. If, for instance, you had been providing services that include GST free, you would have income sitting in this field here. Now, in order to report the correct figure at G1, you would have added the GST free with the GST item and then subtracted at G3 the GST free income. However, there is an option when preparing a business activity statement as to whether you report the GST free in at G1 or not. The actual instructions say at the G3 field, it says if you have included at G1 your GST free sales, then subtract these now at G3. Regardless of the option, I feel it is important that you report the total sales at this point in time and then subtract them at G3. The reason for this is the tax office compares your business activity statement with your income tax returns lodged. The closer your figures are in your business activity statement to your financial accounts, the less you will attract attention from the tax office. Any figures that are appearing in the non-reportable do not go in your business activity statement in the GST section at all. Now, you will also note here in the purchases section that we have GST free and GST items. Theoretically, you would have included the GST free and the GST items at G11. If there were any items that had been processed as a capital item, as in a purchase of plant and equipment, these would have the code of CAP here, in which case you would have reported these at G10. As I said before, the instructions for the preparation of your business activity statement says if you have included your GST free acquisitions at G11, then subtract them at G14. Same argument exists. For the purposes of attracting less attention, I think it prudent to include both your GST free and your GST acquisitions at G11 and G10. Next, these are the amounts of GST that need to be reported. So, in your business activity statement, The amount included here as tax collected should be reported at 1A on your business activity statement. If those figures do not tie in, you need to identify the difference and amend your activity statements. Next, this figure here represents the GST that has been paid in your expenses. These are reported at 1B. This figure should tie in with the figure on 1B on your activity statement for September 09. You will also note in this particular case that this client is reporting PAYG withholding in relation to suppliers who have not provided an ABN. If you were in this situation, and this rarely applies, this gross amount here of 334 would be reported on your business activity statement at item W4. Sorry, this figure here would be reported at W1, and the amount withheld of 314 would be reported at W4. Now this check basically identifies that you've completed your business activity statement and that you have not made any changes to your data file since you prepared your business activity statement. If, for instance, there are differences, you need to review your data file to see where you have made changes since you prepared your business activity statement and see whether there are any errors that have occurred. Any changes need to be reflected in either the existing business activity statement or can be amended in a subsequent BAS. If you do identify that there are differences and you have identified what those differences are, you should notify us to save us incurring additional cost for you in preparing any amendments. Now, another smart report that should be prepared and reviewed is the transaction tax codes. Some of the earlier versions of MYOB do not include this report, in which case you may be in a position where you should upgrade, or alternatively we can upgrade your data file to a later version and run the report for you. In selecting this particular report, we select the period that we want to review, and once we have done that, we will then bring it to the screen. In this case, I'm going to look at the September quarter. If I select finishing, you'll note that we have the choice here between reporting by date or ID. In the latest two versions of MYOB, this will report in this manner and give you these options. The reason for this is that it will actually sort your transactions by general ledger code. If you're running an earlier version, say 2 or 3 versions before, you will have the option of sorting the report by account number. I would recommend that you use this account number as a basis of calculating your or formatting your report. So we bring this report to the screen, and you'll see what it's telling us is that there are transactions which have, in this particular case, been posted to the sales spring water account. You'll note that there is an account for tax and the default tax code and an entered tax code. The entered tax code is the figure that is actually on the transaction. The default tax code is the default tax code assigned to the customer, and the account tax code is the default against the general ledger code. If you find that you're entering in the correct GST code every time, and there's a different code here, it may be wise to go into your accounts and change your default codes to save you having to process extra transactions. If you want to set your default account codes in your general ledger, minimize this screen here, go back to your desktop, select accounts, accounts list, and you'll see here, as we select each different group, what the default tax code is on each item. We've now gone through to income. You'll see that there is a default on spring water of GST, and there's a default on freight of N-T. So if we want to change that, we click on the arrow there, select details, and change our code at this point. We'll now press OK. That has now been updated. Close that screen, and here's our report in the corner. Scroll through the report and look for any unusual items. In this case, all of these sales are subject to GST, so there is no need to make any changes. Sale, same situation. Here you'll see that with equipment we have a default code of N-T, yet the GST code that is being entered is GST. You'll also note that occasionally there's an FRE, which means that there's a GST free acquisition coming through.